Okay.
Hey everyone, welcome to our New Year's Day podcast. We're going to do a Q&A and just answer some questions for people. I feel like it's a little dark, so I'm going to turn on my light just a moment. Oh, okay. It was just a little too dark there. All right, so I wanted to bring on some of the state team and answer some of the questions that we've gotten over the year as we start this new year and people begin to think about things that they want to do. We want to tell you about what we do and see if maybe we're a good fit. All right, so I have Jean Rivera and Megan
Hi.
Oliverson here, and I think we'll have a few more people coming in shortly. So let me just move on over and kind of give you some of the insights and some of the questions that we have. So we recognize that because of lots of different reasons, some of you may be skeptics, some of you may be hesitant. A lot of people want to know kind of what the time commitment is. Is there any financial commitment? Where our political leanings are, all of that. And so we just wanted to spend some time answering those questions for you. This is not about pressure. It's not about perfection. That's definitely not the case. Let me just add one more person in. But it's about clarity. We want to let you know where we stand so that all of your questions can be answered. So also feel free over in the comments. You can write in from Facebook or from YouTube in the comments, and we'll be sure to answer your questions as well. Now we have Donna joining us, who I think is kind of sick, but welcome. Thank you for joining us, even when you're not feeling very well.
Yeah, I'm trying to make my feed work, but anyway, I'm working on it.
So, yeah, it should just be, there you go. I see you. Okay, so let's just start with some of the key insights. You guys, why did you join Moms for America? Anybody can answer.
I'll go.
Sure.
Well, ever since COVID, I've wanted to be involved doing something because the government overreach in that whole time period was nuts to me. I just did not like the direction things were going. And I've always been pretty vocal about my political leanings or my beliefs. So I became a state delegate, and through convention and going to events to meet candidates, I met Carrie and started following her on social media. And she put out one of the events, just like a cocoa night, and I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't make it." She gave me a call and told me about the mission of empowering parents, raising patriots, and promoting liberty, and I was instantly all in. I was just like, "This is exactly the type of women I want to be around and be with, those who value this blessing that we have of being born and living in America, or living in America."
Yeah. Yeah, I think finding your tribe is vital,
Mhm.
especially today. I was thinking about it and I went, huh, we have lasted our first year with literally no infighting.
Yeah.
None. That's pretty awesome. And I think that
Yeah.
happens when you're mission driven, when you have
Mhm.
3 platforms and you stick to those platforms all of the time. Do
Yeah.
either the other two of you want to share?
I can go if you want.
Sure.
Um, yeah, I would just say I've tried to be just civically engaged, aware of things happening at my kids' schools. Tried to go to just be aware of like political candidates and actually studying them, and so when I ended up learning about Moms for America, um, I also heard that they studied the 5,000 Year Leap, which is a book that I had started reading a long time ago, but hadn't quite finished. And so it's been a good opportunity to read that book a little bit more and be able to understand it more than I have in the past. So I've just really enjoyed improving my learning as I've been hanging out with Moms for America.
Yeah, I think that our cottage meetings and the way that we dig deeper into things, I didn't know. I would always have considered myself a patriot, but as we dig deeper and we understand why we believe in principles, I think a lot of people will say, "Oh, you're just a part of the Republican Party and you're just funneling people into the Republican Party," but we don't vote, or we don't think about things in terms of just voting for the right quote unquote politician. We look for statesmen because we understand what it means to preserve our country. We understand. I love that one of our platforms is promoting liberty, because that is something much more precious than promoting freedom.
Politician, yeah.
Right, or a politician, but like freedom, people just think, what can I get? What can I take? Liberty requires responsibility and education.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in thoughts of liberty, I have a good friend who's served a long time in the military. She's been deployed to Afghanistan, and I'm not going to name drop it all, but she said something to me that kind of stuck about liberty being something that you're given, that somebody else provides for you. Now, whether you think that that's God or the military that supplies that ability, I just thought it was a good idea to think about that, because as far as what I believe that those liberties come from God. But not everybody believes that, and that's okay too. But we need to be united in the things that we do agree on, and that is preserving those liberties and the freedoms that we have as Americans.
I love that you said that, because the next point that a lot of people have asked is, are you religious? Are you ran by a particular religious group? Do we have to be Christians in order to be a member? And so, does anybody want to read this? Can you guys see it on the screen? Because once again, my little cover's covering it. Can you see it or no?
I can see it. Okay.
Sure, Megan, that'd be great. Thanks.
Okay. We are unapologetic about our belief that our rights come from God, not government. That's in our founding documents too. But we also know many good people today aren't religious, and that's not so different from the founding fathers. They didn't all believe exactly the same things either. They agreed to act as if those rights were sacred because they knew it was the only way to stay free. Our local groups and state leadership are guided by faith. A group doesn't have to be. If you believe your rights aren't handouts from politics, you want to protect your children from overreach, you'll find yourself welcome here.
And I just feel like that's something I really wanted to address, because when we do our cottage meetings, we are often, we are all faith driven. But that doesn't mean that every single group needs to be. And in that way, I see a big tent as being something that's important. A group that gets together and talks about the Constitution, preserving freedom, being involved, they're welcome, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
it's the founding principles that are important.
exactly. And then there's also a big difference between a cottage meeting, and cottage meetings do heavily lean into faith. That is a part of them, and group meetings, which are more along the lines of empowering and educating people on policies, on principles. Let me move to the next one. I think the next one's also a little bit about faith. Can non-religious or secular moms join? Yes. As long as you believe that your rights are yours and not something that the government just hands you. Because there's a really good quote: "A government that is strong enough to give you everything you want is strong enough to take away everything you have."
Yeah.
And so while I would say you don't have to be Christian, I would definitely say you shouldn't be socialist.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that sometimes there's a difference between having belief in God and being like there are people who don't go to a church that still believe in God. So, you know, my dad is a very much I'm with God when I'm in nature type of a person. So, you know,
Well, that's a
you
good point
don't,
because
you
if
know
you
what I mean?
compare it to like AA, there's plenty of people that go to AA because they need those specific pieces that they would get from a group like that, but they
Yeah.
believe in not just God, but a higher power. And so you
Yeah.
can kind of, look at that and see that there is still a good amount of benefit
Yeah.
to
So
it, I think.
I think that our focus, I think where we would probably have to have commonality is that we believe that, like Carrie said, the rights are ours and they don't come from the government. Whatever that means. If you think humans just are inherent to their rights, fine. If you believe God gave it to you, fine. You know, it doesn't matter as long as you know that the government is not who gives it to you.
Right. Move on to the next one. That's kind of the same. That's just an image. What is the time commitment? That's a question that I see a lot. How much? I mean, we recognize that like we're all busy. In some
Uh,
ways, I could say I'm extremely busy. In other ways, I'm like, well, I am a somewhat of a stay-at-home mom. I teach, but on my own terms. So, but
I would say
most,
whatever time you've got.
yeah,
Yeah.
Where you can fit it in, please do, because I think, especially this day and age, I mean, everybody's busy.
Yeah,
right,
I tell people you can be as involved as you want to be because some people are just here because they need the support and we're okay to give that. Some people feel like a desire to get into action and we're here to facilitate those opportunities. So we're going to just whatever you need, that's what we want to be for you.
right. I believe that at the national level, they say that we are the largest support group of conservative women. We want to meet you wherever you are. We want to support you as you stick to the pillars. But there's never a time commitment. There's never a we're all going to be here and you must be here or else.
Mhm.
It's just we provide opportunities. And what we try to do is provide online opportunities, in-person opportunities in terms of cottage or group meetings, and opportunities to get involved civically, as well as volunteer opportunities. So in December, we went and Christmas caroled at a homeless shelter, but we also brought them some warm clothing. So, and they seemed to enjoy it. We definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And it was just a good time to get together and lift each other up. That is a motto that I felt really strongly when we brought Utah Moms for America here, was that we needed to be focused on building each other up because there's so much tearing down. There's so much competition. And we don't need that. Another thing that I think is really important is a lot of moms groups uh, tend to be kind of feminist leaning. They tend to be women, girl power all the way, and we're not really that. We recognize families in the whole, including the role of the father. We do recognize traditional gender roles. Um, but again, that does not mean that we're all stay-at-home moms.
And if
Yeah.
I can add something to that,
Yes.
Carrie, one of the things that I enjoyed about Moms for America is there's a lot of small things that we can do in our families.
Yeah.
And look at that. Um,
Yeah.
and I feel like
That's what I look like.
I feel like even if the only thing we can start with is ourselves and our family, that's perfect. Like
Yeah, yeah.
if each family could take what they learned, there's so many resources on their website and just so many, like learning opportunities. So even if you can just take those and start putting a little bit into your family, a little bit at a time, and then you're strengthening your own family, and in turn that strengthens your community and your nation. So
Yeah.
starting small is super important, honestly.
Right. In fact, they even have cottage meetings that are only 5 minutes. You can listen to it while you're driving your kid to school and then have a conversation afterwards. We have lots of different ways that we connect. We use GroupMe, we text, we have a Facebook page, we have Instagram, and now what is the new thing, Jean?
TikTok. We don't have a TikTok, but we have X,
No,
Rumble.
the national, is it?
Oh, yes, sorry.
It's okay.
It's called Town Hall. It's crazy. It's like a Facebook but just for Moms for America. You can connect with people, but it's got like all these resources, and it's like its own app called Circle. And yeah, there's a message, there's courses where like you can do the cottage meeting, take quizzes and get points for like, so it's kind of like a gamification. There's a constitution course, like all these things that you can just treat as like a game on your phone. It's really great. Everybody should try it.
And it's just a place where people who believe similarly, that
Yeah.
we share the same values. And I think that that's important. I think I see oftentimes things like find your tribe or you are not alone. But I don't think that that's true. I think a lot of people feel very alone.
Yeah.
And so in that way, I think that we kind of gatekeep in the best possible way, in terms of like, well, we haven't had a situation where we've had to tell somebody that, no, your language or behavior is not
appropriate or something.
Yeah, we haven't had that. I think because, again, we all share the same principles. And I know that whenever I feel stressed out and feel like, oh my gosh, this work is hard, I always think, but the mission is bigger. The mission of promoting liberty and raising the next generation of patriots is so much bigger than other things. I'm going to go back to this guy. So because you're already doing the hardest job on earth, I can't see it, raising the next generation, you shouldn't have to do it alone. So we give you accurate information. This is where we focus on advocacy. And in this way, we are very similar to Moms for Liberty. So, and for me, I believe that all of these groups should be lifting each other up, because we're all doing the work, but it looks differently. So you shouldn't have to do it alone. We give you accurate information on what's happening in schools and in culture. We tend to be very informed in different areas. So my specialty tends to be what's going on in K-12 education, social issues, especially things dealing with diversity, equity, and inclusion. Especially that inclusion, that's really the big thing that people are focused on now. Brooke, who's not with us because I think she's still on vacation, she focuses on civic engagements and specifically what we'll call corn, so we don't get deleted, but inappropriate materials in schools. That's a big part of what she focuses on. And one of the things that we were able to do quietly without yelling and getting in people's faces in the last year, one of the things that we were able to do was to help push for an audit. So in just a few of our schools, they were able to go through an audit and look for inappropriate materials. And you guys, this is not it's not Brave New World. It's not To Kill a Mockingbird. This is things that are so graphic that parents can't read them at the school board.
Well, there were some things that were so graphic. I sent it to a board representative, and they were saying they told other people don't read it. It meets the rule because it was so graphic.
And it's not just, I think one of the things that people need to understand is that we aren't coming from this, like, from particularly a religious standpoint. You can say, hey, the murder of minors by other minors and the graphic, like, celebration of it in books, not appropriate. It's too much. And so we inform, and we don't advocate for going to places and screaming and yelling and doxing. A lot of times I will get things like, if you have this information, name it and shame it. That's not really our goal. Empowering parents lets them know what's happening, and then they make the decision of what they're going to do with it. And we hope that they are going to approach it with grace and responsibility. In the last week, I had somebody reach out to me and they said, I'm having a really hard time. I didn't expect this to happen. What can I do? And I helped them draft a letter, and I told them who to contact. And I said, be very polite, but also firm. And those things, like, they're purpose giving. And that's a big part of what we do. What we found works with Moms for America is that we regularly, I have lost my notes, that we regularly give purpose to, I know what I have to do that. We regularly give purpose, and we help where we can. All right, what are some of the questions, you guys, that you have heard from other people?
I was thinking about teachers. Since I work at an elementary school, sometimes teachers have questions like, are we allowed to talk about this at school, or can we do this at school? And sometimes you just have questions of how to handle something. And so I know that that's something that I think we're going to maybe keep working on as a Moms for America group, is finding those resources so that teachers can come here and be able to look and see, like, what their rights are. I know you went to that Teacher Freedom Alliance,
right,
or something conference, and I actually was getting some emails from them, and I actually got a really good email that said, hey, some of our teachers are asking, can we say Merry Christmas at school?
right.
And so this email went through and just gave some really valid, yes, you can, here's some reasons why, here's what you can say. And I just think if, that's something that if teachers have a place that they can come and know that we support teachers too. We love parents and teachers, and we want to support both because we really want the best education for our kids.
Absolutely. Well, and that's the thing. I think that's a really good question, is, are we against teachers? And the answer is no. At least half of us are involved in education. So, and especially another thing that I think, especially our older members, a lot of them are former teachers. So I think it's really important to understand that just because we're advocating for our kids and for our families does not mean that we're anti-teachers. In fact, what I always say is, I'm interested in the policy. I'm interested in both good policy and bad policy. And if I can help teachers, remember, Megan, at the beginning of the year, we went up to the Capitol and we talked, and we were able to talk about restorative justice and explain what that is and why it's problematic. And having teachers in that room go, oh, I hadn't thought of that before, I think is very beneficial. Like, we want to be helpful. One of the things about a lot of parental advocates is that we were the people who used to be the room moms. We were the people who've always been extremely supportive of education and extremely involved in the classroom. So the way that we're painted as being anti-teacher is wrong. Now, anti-unions teaching that parents caring about their kids are fascists, that's a different story.
Entirely.
Yeah. And Donna, you do a lot with schools too. Like you're very involved in school.
Yeah, there's lots of ways to participate, but it is of note to say that it's important how you participate too. You can't show up into a room where you want people to otherwise listen to what you might have to say. If you start off screaming, nobody's going to listen to anything you say. Not just the first thing you say, but anything you say after that. And it's important that we treat other people with, how you would want them to treat you. You can't have a conversation with anybody if all you're doing is yelling at them.
And it also makes you more effective because we can have meetings and we do have people who support us who are on the state school board. So we do, because we aren't in your face yelling and screaming and going after just destroying. That's what I always say is the difference between an advocate and an activist. An activist tears down, and that's not really what we're focused on. So here's some things about the national organization for people who might want to know. It's a national grassroots organization. Moms for America has been around for 21 years. The focuses are liberty, family, informed citizenship, not a social club. Again, we're not a political party. Nobody says you have to endorse X. Instead, in our goals of empowering, like we will interview people, and then we will present as much information as we can to you. Whether you join us or not, you can watch on YouTube our interviews, and then you can make the decision that's best for you. But we want to put out as much information as we possibly can, and we want that for our own families too. So, and there are people who, they may feel that, how dare you platform this person? How dare you talk to this person? But if you don't talk to somebody, then you're making a whole lot of assumptions.
Yeah.
And that's not that's not empowerment.
And also, if we're not willing to have conversations, I don't know how we get the best information, the most information, because maybe we misunderstand. And I think it's good to give others the opportunity to either explain it or, you get better meat when everybody, has a seat at the table.
Mm-hmm.
That's so important, that seat at the table, and that does require diplomacy. And one of the things that I love that we do, like in group meetings, I think when you were mentioning the hot cocoa one, is that we were able to talk about how you speak to the media, how you effectively get your messaging across. And there's so many different opportunities for that. There are groups that we can partner with. Jean and I were recently at a RISE conference, and just partnering with people who share our values. Now, when you partner with someone who shares your values, sometimes that can get messy because you might not agree with everything. And the way that we look at it is, on the things we can stand with you, we will, and we'll amplify your voice. On the things that we can't, we are committed to not tearing you down. We simply say, that's not something I can align with. And we also bring it to the group and we discuss that. So if somebody comes to us and says, we want your endorsement, the whole group has to make that decision. And I think that that's a way to make sure that we're aligned, but also just not to destroy relationships. We want to build bridges where we can, and we recognize that sometimes we're not going to agree. that's kind of the mother's heart, which is why Moms for America, because we wanted to bring the mother's heart into what I would say is a very, very fractured space. Like the political landscape is a very fractured space. And the idea of bringing the mother's heart in, and a mother, fights like hell for their kids, but also like focuses on the joy of the everyday.
That kind of reminds me, I was just reading over the Declaration of Mothers again today. And one of the things that it says is we recognize the sacred role of mother as the heart of the home and home as the heart of society.
Yeah.
So it really does come back to, as we strengthen our homes, we take that extra
Will you
time
write that in the notes?
to do that we're building our
I mean,
society as well.
Right.
So
Right.
what was that?
Well, so somebody's got a flow going on behind them. I was just wondering if we can write that in the captions so people can. I think it's in captions. No, in the chat. Sorry. So people
in the chat. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, what exactly is an advocate? Well, an advocate is someone who gets informed, shows up when they're able, speaks when necessary, not constantly. A lot of the work that you do is just in being there for your friends. And some of those friends, again, do include teachers. Sometimes I will get teachers who call me and say, hey, how do I teach this lesson and not do this? And, you keep that private, but you help them if you can. No one is required to publicly speak. No one is required to take on a role. And there is no fee to be a member in our groups. We would not want anyone to feel that they were not welcome. The other two groups that are that sometimes feel like they're not welcome are people who don't have children. But some of the most nurturing people and the fiercest protectors of kids are people who can't have kids. So we don't want them to feel like they're not welcome either.
I'm going to point out my grandma, okay? She raised 3 kids that were not hers, that she adopted, and big impact, huge.
My
have
sister
kids.
doesn't have any kids of her own, but she's like a second mom to my kids. So I would say moms of all ages and stages, because sometimes you're a mother and you're a nurturer of just children in your community. I mean, my sister has 26 first graders every year. So she mothers them in a way. So no, you definitely don't have to be a mom.
No, just having that nurturing heart. And also, it doesn't always have to be about kids. There are also people who don't like kids who still like freedom.
Yeah.
It's a fact, and we want them. And we have the other group is grandmas, people who are done in their empty nesters and they still want to be involved. So we love having people look. If you're a nurturer and you want to like read to little kids, awesome. If you want to, be the neighborhood grandma. And one thing that I envision is grandmas collecting children's books and reading during story hours when story hours might be a little suspect in the libraries. I think that would be a great thing for the neighborhood grandma to provide an alternative there. So, and especially, make the stories about these cool people in history that we get to learn about that we've never learned. Or stories about people that we have learned about. Say we all know, George Washington cuts down an apple tree. But before we started really digging, I don't know how many of us knew that George Washington walked back and forth on the battlefield or rode his horse back and forth in front of people. And no matter what, he couldn't be killed.
Yeah.
You know, those are the kind of things that we get to learn when we're studying a cottage meeting. They're just, I don't know, they make history come to life. So
I
I
always
think
tell people that it's about learning or relearning because so many things. One, I think that we I don't forget to remember about how great our country is, but there's so much that we're not taught in schools. So it's not something to be like embarrassed about. Like I don't know anything, you know. I just when I invited women to my first cottage meeting, I said, let me tell you the things that I'm learning and learn you can learn with me, you know?
right. And I take them because another thing that we're big supporters of is homeschools and school choice. And I take them into my classrooms. So I'll take these lessons that I'm learning and take them into my classrooms as well. And the other thing is that, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, this is seen through a lens of white Christian hetero. No, it's seen through original sources. And I think that's very different than revisionist history. Now, sometimes I do think that everybody, when they teach, well, everyone who teaches has an agenda. The agenda that we have with Moms for America, I think, is to push back on my favorite word, which is called oikophobia. Oikophobia means fear or loathing of your home. And if you think about that, today we didn't, but New York just, you know, put in Mom Donnie. And immediately he starts to talk about socialist things like how they're going to turn away from rugged individualism. And all I can say is, well, good luck with that. But I wouldn't have even known what that means if it weren't for the extra time to study it out and to think about it and to listen. And the events that we get to go to, listening to like David Barton and things, you know, people who will again make history come alive and make us understand why this country, for a lack of sounding trite, is the best country on earth. And that's okay to say that because, you know, we are Moms for America. So we probably should love our country. Now, loving our country does not mean, another thing that people will say is, well, are you anti-immigration? Or my favorite one, you're a white supremacist organization. And I know the lighting is all like, so I might look a little pale, but trust me, I'm not a white supremacist. So we are not anti-immigration, but we are anti-illegal immigration.
I think we're anti-illegal, period.
There you go, yes.
And I think all of us need to recognize we're born in the skin we're born in.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. So
yeah. Well, and on top of that, we actually work really hard. I mean, we've got members who are asylum seekers. We've got people who, again, because their principles, their values are aligned with ours, we support them. And I think that that's a good thing. We also have several interracial families because we just see people as people and we don't care. So I think that that's important because groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center have went after predominantly Christian patriotic groups and said that they're hate groups or said that they're terrorists and whatever else. And Kimberly has not missed being accused of those kind of things. So I think it's really important that we understand that just because something sounds great, like the ACLU or like the NAACP or any group like this is why we dig deeper in education. This is why we understand where those accusations are coming from. This is how we empower parents. So that you know firsthand where the shots are coming from, or where the arrows are coming from, I think is a better way.
I think all of us, our stories are unique. And so we're not all going to tell the same story because they're just not the same across the board. And and I think that that's good because we all bring our own little bit of a different perspective, but we can all work together.
Yeah. So I think that the next question that I have gotten is, are you extremists? What do you guys think about that question?
Golly, I sure hope not. As far as I know, caring about my kids and what they're learning, I don't think that that's extreme by any means.
Yeah.
I think that's part of my role is to protect them. I mean, that's my, if I said it's a job, that's my one job, That's the most important thing I can do is to take care of my kids and my family and our own liberties and freedoms.
Yeah. And I feel like some of the Moms for America lessons help us understand how to do that better and what our rights are, and then also just like you said, having a support group when we need some help. Say, hey, I need some help with this. I need some support with something I'm trying to do. So, Ray, can you let Jean back into the meeting?
I don't see where she is. I'm trying to find her. Tell her to hit right now that she's trying to come back in, and I'll look to see, but I don't see her coming in on my side. So I think the next thing is why now? Why she can't? Okay, sorry. I can see your writing. Why now? Why is it okay? Jean,
There she is.
should be in. Okay. Why now? Do you feel an urgency now to join a group like this? Personally, like if you weren't a part of it, would you? I guess this is kind of your elevator speech. We'll be at Eagle Forum next week. What would you tell people?
Do you want to play?
You guys hear
start?
me?
Come find out. When in doubt, come on and check us out.
Can you guys hear me?
It's
Yes.
not like you're not paying dues to join or to stay or anything. And if you don't like what you see, you can always, not continue to participate. But if you do, then we're happy to have another voice to help do what we do.
Did you have any thoughts, Megan? And yes, Jean, I can hear you now.
Okay. So what I was going to say is that quote that says, and I don't know if this is a quote from some specific thing or it's just a saying that people say, but if not, it goes, if not us, who, if not now, when? Like, I think that our country, all of us collectively for generations have allowed the government, we've put way too much trust in them, and they have grown into this Goliath that we now have to stand up and say, excuse you, but we are the people, you work for us, because I think our government's gotten completely out of hand. And if we don't stand up and if we don't do something now, then we're leaving this battle for our kids to fight, and it'll just be worse for them.
I don't even know if they'll be able to fight if we don't do anything now.
Right.
So when I look at things like the midterms and watch people say, who cares about your midterms? Or people who are just already celebrating, all of that's about demoralizing people. But what I see, I think it's Iran. Don't quote me on this, but I think I saw this today that in Iran, women are taking off their restrictive
Hijabs.
clothing. Well, yeah, yes. They're taking it off and they're celebrating. But you guys, it was 40 years under that. And meanwhile here, and I think it's George Washington who said, I wish if anybody wants to look up this quote, but it's about America is not going to be lost from outside. You guys know that quote? America's not going to be lost from it's actually going to require us to commit a sort of societal suicide.
I'm looking for it.
I believe another person has said that America will be lost without a shot. And when I think specifically about Utah, I think, my goodness, our kindness is the level of how much we're willing to be taken advantage of is toxic empathy. And our desire to be comfortable, to not be judged, to not put the effort out there, especially when a door is going to get slammed in your face or somebody might say something mean to you. Our desire to not have that happen cannot trump our children being able to live and understand what liberty and freedom are.
I think particularly in Utah, people have grown to accept the idea that conflict and contention are the same, and they're not.
Yeah.
I think people think it's so important to be nice, which it is important to be nice. But the truth is always nice. The truth is always more valuable than flowery words or speeches. That's what's most important, is our truth and our freedom, and we need to defend that. And I think because people here are so religious, they don't want to be cruel or mean, which I understand. Right. But there are warriors all through the scriptures, and I believe that our freedoms, our gifts, our blessings are worth fighting for, and certainly our families are worth fighting for.
Obviously, I'm still trying to find. Yeah, exactly. Fighting for our families has to be the priority. So,
if I can just add something from another paragraph from the Declaration of Mothers, it says this is the third paragraph. The privilege of living as a free people in a free society is dependent on being a people of faith, virtue, and patriotism, the three pillars of liberty, and these attributes are best developed and nurtured in the home. Each generation has a responsibility to instill a love of liberty and virtue in the hearts of the next generation. And I think for me, one of the things that I've really learned since joining Moms for America is how important it is for me to teach my children about patriotism and liberty. I just didn't connect how important it was until kind of going through some of these things and talking about things. And now that I'm older and I'm seeing more things as well, I'm like, oh, I wish I would have done that. Or, so if we can help moms with young kids and really, I love that there's stuff you can do no matter what age you are, but it really is so important that we must take a step. We must be the ones to stand up for our kids right now.
Well, this little image that for whatever reason I can't make bigger, maybe I can. And it says, and it has a young, here we go. Okay, good. So it has this young mom, right? Why should I join Moms for America? Well, because at least a generation, if not more, have been taught that it wasn't very important to mentor you. that it wasn't that we just should go about in our comfort and not really think about the next generation. And I know that, we lost somebody in September who spoke to the next generation and how desperate they are, and how much they need a strong foundation. And again, how much we, more older than that, how much we need to have the purpose. And honestly, it comes down to how much we all need each other, because we've been miseducated. We've been taught, at the very least, we've been taught our country is not that great. And we stand to lose so much if we continue to believe that. I'm just going to go through and see. Okay, so what exactly is a cottage meeting? Does anybody want to explain what that's like?
Just getting together and talking about topics.
I can if you want.
Yeah, Megan, go ahead. Feel free.
Yeah, so a cottage meeting is specifically talking about 12 topics that Kimberly Fletcher, the founder, has put together. So the lessons are already there. It gives you something to discuss. You learn, like I said, relearn history. One of my favorite lessons was about the importance of family dinner time. And we had our meeting where we just talked about, what are some recipe ideas and how do you make it work to bring all your family together to eat, and that was one of our cottage meetings. So a lot of variety of topic, but those are 12 set topics that you can.
Yeah, the very first one is called Anchored in Hope, and I think that is something that we desperately need, is to remember where our hope comes from, where our rights come from. Though that stops you from being, tossed around by fear. So cottage meetings usually are about an hour. They can be less, they can be more. You can take a group of friends, and like if you're a young mom, put your kids in a stroller and go for a walk and talk about the cottage meeting that you listened to. We do them just like this. We do them online, so you can tune in once a month with us. It's the second. Thank you. You can do that. It's been the second Tuesday. I'm not sure if it will stay that, but that's how we do states, so that anybody can tune in and listen. And of course, the best way to do it is with your close friends in your neighborhood. What I would love to see is a cottage meeting group in first every county, then every town, then every community. This is how we bring our culture back from whatever it is at right now. The other thing that we would like to see is school district ambassadors at the national level. They want to see, I can't even remember how many, I feel like it's like 30,000 that they want to see across the US in 2026. I would just like to see one school district ambassador. The easiest way for me to explain it, how I see it working, is you are the person who's going to be responsive when the school board won't, which sadly often happens. So you are the parent who can help guide where you're aware of what goes on in policy. So for us, we go to the school board meetings and we listen, and then we give any report on what's happening. But really, you're the person that people wish could be elected, and unfortunately, in many circumstances, can't be, because it's already set up. So that's a school district ambassador. If you are interested in that, if you're interested in some sort of, if that's specifically what you want to do, please send us a message. Just reach out directly. I'm usually very available. And anybody else, I think Peggy, your speaker thing is on. Mute her. See, mute for you. Jean. Oh, you're muted.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I'm trying to figure out why I keep getting these error messages and
Oh, well, you guys, this is our first round on this platform, so we'll only get better from here. Um, I think that sums up
Sorry.
Peggy. Your speaker is speakering. Maybe I can just. Can you guys still hear me?
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, I was able to turn down her speaker. So, okay. In the next year, I just really hope that we will see growth and that we will be able to reach more people who feel like they are doing this alone because they don't have to.
Yeah, I hope so too.
That's just kind of my own goal. What about you? Let's wrap up with that. What are your goals for what would you like to see this year?
Well, my goal for Utah Moms for America is to show up to these events and let the legislatures and local leadership know that moms are listening and that we care about the direction of our cities, state, and our country, and that we're going to be involved so that they care enough to go after our vote and listen to what we say.
I love that. Megan, any thoughts?
Similar thing, just right now, I've got a small group of ladies and we're just taking turns at the school board meetings. Because it was kind of overwhelming at first. I feel like I had to go every month. But now I'm like once every third or fourth month. And so just letting them know, hey, we're here, we're listening, we want to be engaged, and hopefully in a way that they feel, it's not threatening. We're here. And then also, I kind of mentioned mine earlier, just I would like to learn more about, or just have teachers. That's something I'd like to try to work on.
I absolutely love that. Any last thoughts, Donna?
No, I think they kind of hit it on the head, you know? I think we've always been here, but sometimes we forget where our voice is. Like,
Yeah.
I'm losing mine, so oh, the irony. but it's important that we focus on the things that matter and
Yeah.
do what we can do where we are, because that's where we have the biggest impact, is right where we stand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that maybe would like to get involved but don't know how or even where to start. And so
And that is as simple as sending us a message. Sending us a message. If there isn't a Moms for America in your town, then consider starting one. I'm happy to come out and take you to lunch and talk to you about, get you started on learning about cottage meetings and just how to get involved and to find out where you want to be involved. What do you want your group to look like? Again, they don't need to be cookie cutter, but here's one thing that I do think is very important. They have to stick to our platforms. They cannot be pulling off random ideas that have nothing to do with the platform of promoting liberty, empowering parents, or raising the next generation of patriots. We are not a multi-level marketing thing. We are not. We're not trying to sell you anything, and we're not. And we are not trying to impose woo-woo ideas on you. Like we're just your basic moms.
We're
Love our
just
kids,
moms.
love our country.
I think Donna said it best. We each do what we can where we're at, and we
Yeah.
support each other.
Absolutely.
and I haven't found that we're running off of conspiracy either.
Yeah.
We need to deal with truth
We want to be
and
grounded in truth. Yeah.
yeah, we need to have truth and factual basis for the things that we're dealing in.
Yeah. And also, you guys, I think the last thing that's actually really important is that we're nice. We're actually nice women.
We are. We are. We are a nice group.
Yes.
And that just, it feels good because I don't think I've ever had a cottage meeting that I've gotten off and gone like, oh, what a waste of time. You know, I always feel like my spirit is lifted and I can do a little bit more. Oh, poor Jean. She's all over the place. So I didn't want to start with a prayer just in case people are listening who that would make them feel uncomfortable. But I do want to end that way. And because it's the last, because it's the first of the year, um, I can turn this off so that it's not live, or we can pray live, but I would like it if we would all take a turn praying. What do you guys want to do?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Should I turn it off?
I think maybe we should turn off the live just so that
Yes.
if other people are joined in, they don't.
Yeah.
We
Totally
don't make
fine.
them uncomfortable because we want them to stay and have a voice too, and not maybe be overbearing in a way that would make them feel.
All right. Yeah, I love it. So, you guys, thank you so much for listening in. If you have any questions after watching this, please send any of us a message. We are also going to start a Substack newsletter, so it'll be easy to see what we're doing. And again, there's the Circle Moms for America if you want to meet with a larger group of moms who are, in this battle standing for truth.